Hey, it's time to make some money. Who's ready for that? Who likes making money? You know how that is. Money can't buy happiness, but you know how it feels when you get paid. I don't know anybody who doesn't like to get paid, right? Just you know, when you get paid, you've done something, you started something, you just get in, you just get paid barely, finally, and gosh, you just have clarity. You're like, okay, this is gonna work. That that relief and that confidence that okay, everything's gonna be okay. I'm making money. I guess it's gonna work. Feels good, right? At least I think it does. So it's time to go trucking. We want to always be in a position of some leverage, of some power, to have some control over the results of our business. We want to control as many factors as we can. We want to be in that place. So where do we find loads? Where do we get stuff? This is going to be kind of an introduction. We go way deeper into each one of these sections in our foundations course, and then even more into our mastery training, designed for somebody who's trying to build a fleet. And, if that's you, then that's probably the class for you. We can go to a direct shipper. We can find someone who wants us to move some product for them. That can be a friend, a new or an old friend, business acquaintances, and so on. These are the end consumer for our service, meaning trucking. We can, of course, go to a broker or a dispatcher or go to load boards. And not that any one of these is bad. Each one has a position in the market, and all have pros and cons. And sometimes we would use one over the other. And so we'll get into it here for a few minutes. I'm going to go kind of fast. I want to keep this pretty brief, but informative. So we're just going to cruise right along. Direct shippers, when you deal with them, you cut out as many middlemen as possible. You're just right direct. You don't have multiple layers of people who are taking their percentages out. So I would really encourage you to develop these relationships with people, to always be talking to everyone all the time. But be careful. If your broker or dispatcher gets you a load because of one of their relationships that they've built, and you pirate it, if you steal it, this is what a lot of guys get in trouble with. Your broker sets you a load up, and you go try to talk to the manager, the boss, and say, hey, why don't you just call me next time? Now that's an okay thing to do if you don't have any ethics, if you don't have any business ethics. I don't want you to do that. Your broker, your dispatcher has those relationships, and you needed your broker dispatcher. So for those, don't pirate that work. It'll come back to bite you. Don't do it. It's going to take some time to develop these relationships. Now, if you will keep track of everywhere you loaded, unloaded, contact information, business cards, and you haven't went back there, or you haven't worked for that broker in a long time, 6 months or a year, then it's probably okay to maybe make contact. Maybe not, but maybe. But it can take some time. But it doesn't have to. You can just, there's someone in your town who could use your services. And you just need to go knock on some doors and just go make some relationships, and you'd be fast how quick you could get some business. No matter what you do, you have to make sure you understand their system for paying, how long you're going to be carrying, holding. That's some of the benefit that brokers offer, is kind of their payment. Sometimes not, but sometimes they offer a quick pay, which can be good for you or bad for you, depending on right where you're at. But don't just go make a deal with a shipper and be like, oh, great, I got some work now. That's great, which is great. It's good to get paid, and it's good to make money. And yeah, we're doing something, but you need to really understand what you're signing up for with each shipper that you get in cahoots with. Now, brokers, the infamous brokers, they have to be licensed and bonded. Be careful and make sure they are. Some of them let their licenses lapse, and you have no recourse should you get screwed on some money on some loads. The idea behind a broker is that they are hiring us. That's different than a dispatcher who we are hiring them. They're lining up work for us, dispatchers, but brokers, they are hiring us. They have a load posted or something. They will call and say, hey, we want you to do this. Where a dispatcher is going to say, hey, I work for you, and this is what I found. What do you want to do? Some of the benefits of using either a dispatcher or a broker are because you're driving the truck. You're going to miss a lot of loads that sometimes are only on the load board for minutes. Sometimes not even that. You just miss them because you can't focus on all the jobs all the time. You can do most of them most of the time. And I understand what it's like to wear a lot of hats. You know, in my companies, I take on more than I should. And what happens is some of the projects, some of the jobs that need done well aren't done as well as they ought to be. And therefore the business ultimately suffers. The brokers have some existing contacts and relationships that you don't have yet. And so to use a broker or dispatcher, you kind of get that initial jump that you don't have when you're trying to develop relationships with direct shippers. They already have some of them. Just be careful that you don't get all your eggs in one basket, work for one broker. They have some seasonality to their businesses too, just like we do. And you have to be ready to float wherever you need to be. These trucks need a constant supply of good paying freight. That's the challenge. Brokers usually will pay you directly, unless you're going through a factoring company or something. They will usually pay you directly. So that's another benefit of using a brokerage rather than just doing it all on your own. Or you need to be developing relationships with direct shippers, because that's ultimately where you're going to get paid the most by cutting out all the middlemen. But the brokers can pay you directly too. That's usually how that works after they get paid from their direct shipper. So, but sometimes they offer a fast fee, like it's basically a factoring or arrangement with them. And again, they've developed those relationships, and so that's why they're in business, is to link you, the carrier, with loads. The dispatchers are a little different. There's a lot the same, but there's some differences. They are not licensed and bonded, and they work for us. A good dispatcher will generally only take on somewhere 5 to 10 trucks is someone who's doing a really going to do a really good job. Obviously, the fewer the better. They spend all their time working for you. That's just better for you. But we hire them either for a like a flat fee or a percentage of the loads. But they work for us. Think of them like an attorney or a somebody who you've hired, a contractor to work for you. A broker is kind of the keeper of all the loads, and they'll give you one, where the dispatcher is out there on your team more, hunting it up, working for you. A broker, a lot of times, what is their goal? What is a broker's goal? To get the loads moved competently. They don't like solving problems on the road, but they will. That's their job. But they want to get it moved competently for as cheap as they can get it. They'll pull loads from you, and then they'll give you some reason that is not a real reason why you can't have the load. You'll deadhead 1,000,000 miles and get somewhere, and they'll say, oh, sorry, the load is canceled. A lot of times it's just because they found someone cheaper to do it. So understand that the relationship with your broker can be developed, and I'm not saying all brokers are bad, because they're not. There's a necessary piece for them in the market. But a dispatcher is different in that they work for us, where a broker kind of works for themselves and use us a little. Again, they can find the loads that you can't, because that's what they're doing. They're finding loads. And they have some existing relationships, which may or may not be seasonal. You just need to have these conversations with them. Like, kind of, what does this look like? What is their expertise? Do they take on new carriers? That's a big question to ask any broker or dispatcher. Will you take on a new carrier? If that's your situation, a new authority can be kind of a detriment for the first 3 to 6 months. And that's actually when most close. So find someone who fits what you need. Your pay fits what you're needing for work, and just don't be afraid to talk. Stay in communication. Dispatchers can do a ton of paperwork for you. They are filling out new carrier packets. They're following up with all the load paperwork, depending on the system. Like, they earn their wages. And again, we can either hire them with a flat fee per month or on a percentage basis. Generally, they can help you get paid. They can do the paperwork, but generally it's the broker or the shipper that's paying you, and your dispatcher is not writing the check to you. They actually can't. That's why brokers need to be licensed and bonded. Dispatchers is just a great way to go for new operators or existing operators. Like, dispatching is a full-time job. And if you want it, the better you want it done, you need to hire somebody more competent than you, and someone who has more time than you to focus on it so that it can be done well. One of the things which I'm a little bit kind of against, it's not a black or white world. It's not that direct shippers are the greatest thing and everything else sucks, but just understand that a lot of these other things, a lot of these layers that we put in between our paycheck and us, the direct shipper and us, how many layers have we added? It's usually just a race to the bottom when it comes to rates. This whole load board world that I'm talking about. Load boards. I have to keep editing this a little because I'm gone a little long on time, so I have to keep moving along so I don't take up your whole day. We want to get right to the point and help you with your business, and that's why we're here. So load boards, to me, it's kind of the last straw. It's the last when I'm a little more desperate. Now other people can make their entire business and make it successfully just based on load boards, but they're getting in touch with direct shippers or brokers generally for those to really work out. But who is posting these loads? It's not the magic load fairy. It's the people we know that are in the business. They're the ones posting the loads. At the end of the day, when it comes to using a broker, a dispatcher, or load boards, which is using a broker or dispatcher, we are more of a price taker than a price maker. That's one of the things we really go into deep in the foundations and the mastery trainings, is about getting you in control of your business and as many factors as you can get into. More, there'll be a lot more, and I want to tell y'all, but we're running short of time. So sign up for more trainings if you want more information. Leasing on to a company can be kind of more or less a magic pill, but each one of these avenues, no matter what you decide to do, they all have pros and cons. Now, leasing on with a company, and this could be you lease your truck, your authority leasing on, pulling one of their trailers, or this could be your equipment and you leasing under their authority, or however you want to work it out. But this can lead to steadier income. You won't make the highs, but you also won't make the lows. It'll keep you in business. And that's a good thing. They can also take quite a bit of the jobs off of your plate. You know, in any business, you're wearing a lot of hats, and I understand how that is. They can help you get some regular pay. You know, a lot of them will pay you every 2 weeks or every week sometimes, or once a month, but you know when you're going to get paid, and that can be huge. A lot of them build in a factoring model because they'll pay you every week. Some of them will just furnish you the trailer and the dispatching and a fuel card and the savings, and they'll take that right out of your checks. This is not right for everybody, but these are established companies who need owner operators. And at least for the first while, I don't think it's a bad way to go. A lot of times you can lease onto a company and they will give you all those things listed there. They'll give you a trailer, dispatch, they'll give you steady loads. Sometimes they're not the loads you want in the areas you want, so there's some pros and cons, but they'll give you a weekly paycheck and a fuel card that comes with the savings that buying, because they're buying a ton of gallonage. They're buying a lot of bulk, more than you would be by yourself, is what I'm saying. They'll give all that and like charge you 10%, maybe 10% total of theirs. You have to get in with a reputable company who is honest, who has some transparency in their accounting. So caveat, 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 not all are made equal when it comes to any of these. But just consider it. If you're not sure where to go, how to go, this might be a great way to take some of the things off your plate. You can get in business, get going, and in 6 months or a year, decide what to do next. Okay. You know, a lot of these they all change over time. You know, Amazon's a great example. When Amazon first needed owner ops, boy, that was, you almost couldn't beat it. It was just a way to make some money. Like, but over time, as they've got who they need, the lanes they need filled, those rates have come down. But there's others. There's some great companies who will keep you at a pretty steady dollar per mile loaded, as you know, quite a few miles. You know, as an example, like Landstar, they're so big that you're largely on your own. There's a lot of training. They do a lot of things, but you're largely on your own to figure out to take a load or not take a load. Amazon is moving in that way too, where used to everything was just great with Amazon, and then things move on. So you do want to get a little more specialized if you can, and you need to just do the work to find someone who will work with you in your situation, and it's just going to be a good fit. And don't be afraid to talk to people. Just be honest. Hey, I'm a new operator. This is what I have. These are my challenges. This is where I got to be. What does that look like for you guys? Don't just take the first thing that comes along and then go from there. I'll just, little quick story. I'll never forget. I was, and I don't even know what year it was or how long ago it was, but I was a brand new authority with one of my companies. I had done some other work before, and I didn't realize how good I had it. I scaled that business and sold it. I started another business, but I didn't understand this entire world of brokers and load boards and all this stuff. And I got 1,500 miles away from home into an area that I was forced to either take. There wasn't even cheap freight. There was just no freight. And I thought, I got unloaded, and I thought, no problem. There's no problems. Tomorrow will be a different day. I'll check tomorrow. And I was down to my last few pennies, literally. I remember, by the grace of God, a gentleman bought me lunch, and he didn't know. The bill came, and she was like, "Oh, is this all in one or separate?" And I had enough to buy my own lunch, and he's like, "No, I'll get it." And it was great. But I was there about 3 days, load boards, signing up for more load boards, just doing anything I could do to try to find a way out, because I was doing my own dispatching, and I was carrying all the hats, wearing all the hats, trying to do all the work because I couldn't afford someone else to do it. I know what this feels like. I still feel it today. And I thought, well, I can't just sit here forever, spending money running this truck. It was the middle of summer, hotter than hellfire. So I just got headed home, and I thought, well, we'll figure something out along the way. Got headed back, made it about halfway home. So here I am. I'm about 700 miles from home, and I've got at that point I had a prepaid fuel card. My fuel card was out of money, and I had about a quarter tank, and I was going to go through some mountainous country, and no other chances for fuel for a long time. And 700 miles from home, no fuel money. I had some money owed to me from some past loads, but who knows when those will come in. I wasn't really paying attention to my accounts receivable quite like I'd hoped, or like I should have been. And gosh, it was pretty desperate. It was pretty desperate. And I'll just never forget, I pulled up to the truck stop, and no way to get fuel, no nothing. And long story short, made it home. I made it home. And The next week I went trucking again, and I did eventually get that business scaled. It was actually I worked with that broker again for another week, and then I leased onto a company, and then I took that business and scaled it up to 6 trucks. So I have a special place in my heart for leasing onto a company, and that can really help you. That can really help you. And oh, there it is. It might be a way to scale up. And just if you do that, be sure that you have an agreement with them. That's the agreement I worked out with the company I leased onto, was that they would not hire the drivers I hired. We were basically pulling from the same pool of drivers, but that we had this understanding that they wouldn't, if I recruited them and got them, they wouldn't ever hire them, at least till after they quit me. And I think it was for 3 months. So at the end of the day, you want to just get down to who is calling who. Do you want to be more of a price maker or a price taker? Do you want to just be at the whims of the market? The spot market's great. The spot market's horrible. Where's it at today? Fuel's high, fuel's lower. It'd be nice if fuel was just free, but then the whole market would change, and it'd be the same for everybody then. So even that, not sure would do us much good. Now, if they are calling us, we have a little more negotiating power. If a shipper is calling us directly saying, hey, how much will you do this for? It means they're interested in us. We have a little more negotiation power. But if we're calling them, they have a little more negotiation power. Now, not always, not 100% of the time, but just understand who's calling who. Are they calling you because they want you? Now, this could be a broker too. A broker could call you and say, hey, I need you. Or do you want this? Are you interested in this? Yeah, maybe. What is it? Yeah, and just go from there. But never say never, and never think that you have all the power or that they have all the power. Every situation is different. Factoring, if you're not sure, I'm going to go really fast. If you're not sure what factoring is, factoring company will basically buy your accounts receivable from you. You do a load, you have that invoice out, they will basically give you a percentage, like 90% or something, 95, whatever terms you exactly work out with them. It should be way more than 90%. You should get these for 3, 2, 3, 5%. Is who that's what you should be selling them for. If you're with a company that's only giving you 90, you're giving money away. Some require long-term contracts and exclusivity that all your invoices have to go through them, blah, blah, blah. I would steer away from them. I would work with somebody. I would develop my relationships with direct shippers, invoice them, and only sell what I had to factoring companies. Every percent you give away is a percent that you're not going to make. I'd find one without a term or a contract. This is a good thing. Factoring companies can help vet. They've been in the business a while. They have some existing contacts who can either A, help you get loads, or B, they know who's trouble and who you shouldn't work for. So what good is it to go truck and go work, go spend all this money and never actually get paid? That's happened to me, and it sucks. Hopefully that never happens to you. That's why we're here, is to help you get some education so that you have the confidence and the clarity to make confident decisions in what needs to happen. Recourse and non-recourse. Factoring companies will either give you or buy your accounts receivable from you on a recourse or a non-recourse basis. Recourse means they can come back and to you. If they never get paid, they're going to come take it from you. Or non-recourse, meaning they'll give you the money 100%. You never have to worry about it again. They're obviously going to get paid to take those risks. So I want you to design your ideal situation. How do you want this to go? How busy do you want to be? How much do you have to make? You need to understand your costs, which we talk about expenses in the next lesson. And we go really deep into expenses and what means what, how to manage them in the future trainings, in the mastery and the foundations trainings. What type of work do you want to do? What type of work will pay the best? So do you need to do it even if you don't really want to, at least for a while? Another thing is just take a bird's eye view, back up a little, just because it's not maybe your thing. What within an hour or two of your house or wherever you're parking your truck, what industries live there? And what do they need? And what can you fulfill? And then just be really honest about your home time and what that really looks like. What do you want to be? How often do you want to be home? And therefore, how big of a radius from, what lanes do you want to run in, and how often do you need to be home? Finally, how big do you want to grow your business? Like, what's the end goal? Always begin with the end in mind, and understand and take steps today to get there. I could go on for days, but there's more in other trainings if you want more. So I want you to write down who your ideal client is. I want you to write a list of people who are your ideal client, that are potential direct shippers. Start developing that list of people to talk to. And then I want you to take those first steps in developing them. Go knock on the door. You're probably not gonna get past the receptionist the first time, but you have to go and then go again and call again. And I mean, you can't be annoying, but you have to keep following up and just keep going. When it comes to brokers and dispatchers, I want you to do things on purpose. Interview tons of them. Interview 5 of them. Don't just call on a load, get a load, and then go do it and hope you can get paid. And slow everything down. Get things set up where they need to be so that you can be successful. Because that's why we're here. We want you to be successful. So interview lots of them. You'll gain understanding of their business, and they'll understand your business. Ask them a ton of questions. What type of business do they like to do? What do they hate to do? How long have they been in business? Do they deal with new authorities? If that's you. If not, it's no big deal. When and how do I get paid? That's the biggest question. How does that work? How exactly does that work? Is what they have seasonal, or is it all the time? You may have multiple brokers. You probably only need one dispatcher, but which can call on those brokers, and you need a lot of ways to make money, not just one. Don't put all your eggs in one basket to make money, is the point. I'm running really short on time.